Hello, folks! For the third time this month, in the beginning of our show, we used to hang out on a weekly basis. Now that the show happens on a bi-weekly basis, it's pretty seldom for us to hang out 3 times a month, so I think it's something worth sharing and talking about. Anyway, it's Tuesday again, a very warm and sunny April 29th, 2025, at least here in Germany. As usual, my name is Tudor Vladov, and I'm back with the 51st episode of Keeping It Realistic. In the beginning of today's show, which as always is done in collaboration with Chaos, we will take a look at some news, announcements, and offers. Then we'll check out a few exciting practice projects of yours from the last 2 weeks. And finally, we'll talk about a few recent topics, including the previous show and the topic of health, a very, very important one. Please remember, we do this as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussions and interact with myself, with each other. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, share your thoughts and opinions, and generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. Let me check the comments. I see Ahmad there. I see Ahmed. Ahmed says, cool new space tail, well done, loved it, and the light effect as well. Yeah, you noticed it. I moved to a new office. I'm very glad to hear you like it. I like it too. I love it, actually. It's smaller than my previous studio, but it is more functional and better designed, as you can tell. I can actually vary a lot with my lighting effects. Currently, I have chosen, this purple color so that I can stick out more. But if I wish, I could just, of course, it doesn't work for the demo. I can also go for a more neutral, more, let's say, professional color if I wish to. For now, I'll keep the purple because, of course, it doesn't work yet. Now it does. So yeah, I'll keep the purple, and yeah, I really love it here. It's very comfy. It's cozy, and it's cool. It looks nice. And I would love to hear from you what you think. Amit was already the first to notice and to share his opinion, but I'll gladly hear from you others as well. Abdi is here, Mariana. Ahmed says, nice Scout sculpture. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I love Scouts, if you haven't noticed so far. So I wanted them to be there because, of course, a background like this is a bit more generic. My previous one wasn't maybe that professional looking, but it was very personal. And now with this one, I didn't want it to lose personality at all. I wanted it to still have some of the elements that I just enjoy having around me. And so the skulls and the cactus are still there. And my palm tree is also here, but you don't see much of it. Maybe for the next show, if I do it standing, you'll be able to see more. Simon is here. He says, Memento Mori. Yes, this is what it is. Yeah, it's a bit of a different solution here. I wanted these acoustic panels for the sake of looks and for the sake of acoustics. So please let me know if you can hear me right, if you can hear me correctly. By the way, I also changed some of my OBS settings as well, because usually there was this delay between sound and video image. So I hope that I have managed to deal with this as well. And yeah, other than that, you see some curtains to the left of me. It's the left for you, maybe it's the right, because I have a big window here on the side, and if I open it, all of this carefully crafted lighting setup will be immediately ruined because it's a huge window, and once I open it, a ton of light will stream in, especially on a sunny day like today, and everything will be ruined. Anyway, we talked maybe a bit too much about my office, but once again, gladly let me know how you hear me because of the new acoustic situation here, and if you have any thoughts or opinions about the lighting or anything else, gladly let me know. I'd love to hear that. Now, without any further ado, let us continue as we usually do. Let's appreciate today's cover image for a moment with the works for it contributed by Ahmad, Kemish, and Mohsen. Congrats to all three artists. And by the way, did you catch the leading lines on this one? Let me quickly open the image. Did you catch this? I'm sure you did. You're great, and you always see things like this. but yeah, it's pretty sweet because we have this building here in the middle, and it has very strong leading lines on it, and then we have the surrounding images with also some leading lines that also corresponds to the whole direction of the general leading lines leading to this point here in the middle where it says realistic. Anyway, I'm trying to compose this on a bi-weekly basis. I always try to have some idea or some concept that I follow instead of just dropping the images randomly. So I hope you saw this. Oh, Mariana says no delay now. This is absolutely amazing. If this is the case, I would totally love it, because delays are very pesky, and I think it's kind of a pleasant to watch someone and you hear the sound, and after that you see their mouth moving. This used to be a thing growing up in Bulgaria with many movies, and this live transcription of what people are talking, it never matched the the mouth movement, especially the some kung fu and karate movies from China or whatever. Then they were just like, they were talking so much, and then the Bulgarian translator would just go, "I'll kill you," and it wouldn't fit at all. So yeah, I hope we have dealt with this issue for now. Ahmad says, nice composition as always, you're a creative hero. Oh no, I'm definitely not a hero, and believe me, from time to time, I really regret deciding to do this, because sometimes, the images fit together well and within a minute or two. Other times they just don't, and I just don't like it, and I spend half an hour and I'm like, why did I start all this? But then in the end of the day, I know that it makes a lot of sense for this, for us to do this, because you get exposure next to the Chaos logo this way, and this is definitely worth it. Anyway, and as you know, we have two images to appreciate in the beginning. It's not only the cover image of the show, but also the new group cover image, which for this case, you chose Mario's work, the reproduction of the Cloak Museum of the Cultural Revolution. It got your votes, or the most votes, even though it was a close call. It was a neck-on-neck race with Nguyen's work, which has only 5 votes less. But yeah, this is Mario's work. I decided to crop the upper part of it, because this is where we have this very interesting lighting and the skylight. And I think it's, I think it makes for a very, very cool looking cover image for the whole group. Here it is, once used, it's great. And this was your choice. I fully agree with this, even though I think any of the images that you have chosen would have made a very cool cover of the group. But of course, this one very nicely fits also with the red, and it's something else, it's something different. I always enjoy unique looking images. Amit says, also there will be Clash of Shows today with Escape Deep Dive 3. Yeah, I know, it starts in an hour. It's like this. In order for us to have the complete freedom of giving you something which is exactly what we want, we work with Chaos mostly on a freelance base. And for this, we don't always communicate perfectly, and sometimes things like this happen. It's the first time with those shows, and there are recordings. So if, let's say, in 50 minutes you want to go over, just do that and watch the live there. If not, stay here and watch the recording there. From both shows, there will be recordings. So yeah, you'll be able to watch both. But it's up to you which one you want to be live at, and maybe ask questions and something like this. Anyway, let's not lose any more time and jump into today's news. Virtue joined us. Hello, Virtue. Glad to have you here. So first, the biggest news is we reached the 7K milestone. And I really love this. And if some of you may think, well, okay, 7,000 is nice and all, but there are groups out there with 50,000, with 100,000. Well, yeah, that's true. But as you know, it's not the size that matters. It's the way you use it. The group, I mean, obviously. And to me personally, it is always better to have a tight-knit, friendly and helpful community of 10 people rather than like a huge, humongous group with 500,000 people, which is nothing more than a the next gallery or online archive for your images. And this is exactly what we have here. And what's more, we have organic growth. Don't forget about this. We don't do ads. We don't do any promotions about this community. We have no bots. We don't push the numbers artificially. And we also have pretty solid filtering. So we don't let just anybody in the group. We make sure that the people who come are actual users, not bots, not spammers and things like this. So yeah, this is organic growth. And for organic growth, it is a very nice and quick growth as well, because it works the way it should. Actually, people loving the group, enjoying it and telling others about it, and then the others join. And this way you cannot grow from 2,000 to 100,000 within weeks. This is just impossible. But I really love the community and I'm very happy about this milestone, and judging by your reactions, you are too. Anyway, let's continue with the Chaos Calendar, which now features a ton of new dates, as you can see here. And not all of them are in the USA. There are also some in Europe, in the United Kingdom, in London, or the Netherlands, in Utrecht or Culemborg, for example, some Chaos meetups. Definitely check them out, and don't only measure the distance to those, because of course, obviously, if you're, let's say, in Asia and South America and Africa, and you see something happens in Europe or North America, you may be like, nah, that's too far away. But sometimes, nowadays, distance is a bit more on the relevant side. Like, for example, for me, it takes 4 hours to go to Sofia, even though I don't even live in a city with an airport. So I have to travel to the airport first, then wait, and then fly over to Sofia. It takes 4 hours, but it takes 7 hours to go to Berlin, a city in the same country, by car or with a train. And of course, it's a matter of affordability. You need money in order to make it there. However, if you travel out of season, and as you can see, there are here dates until October. If you travel out of season, you can actually get ridiculously cheap tickets to some major locations around the world. Like our neighbors, for example, they traveled to Egypt, if I'm not mistaken, over Christmas, because this is not a popular destination over Christmas. And the tickets were cheaper than traveling to another German city. So you never know. Go through this, check them out. If there is something that catches your attention and you think, wow, I really want to go there, not only because of chaos, but because of the whole event, because you can eventually get new clients there. This is an investment. Don't forget this. And in order to make money, you need to invest money. It's always the same. So see it as an investment, and eventually, if you can make it, try to reach your destination. Ahmad says, I just have one point of feedback, as we are 7,000 now, but on the live bi-weekly show, we just have a few people, 10, 20 people. Something needs to be done in this area. This is just a thought. Well, yes, maybe it sounds like coping, but I really enjoyed the way it is. I don't really want 100 people. I see what happens with these, very promoted Arvis masterclasses with Nikos, where there are like hundreds of people in the comment section, and Nikos just needs to glance over them. He cannot actively communicate with so many people. And as you see here, I actually very much enjoy doing this with you, communicating with you, answering your questions, and I know that many people actually watch the recordings afterwards. Like a regular show without anything special about it has, in recent times, in the beginning it was way smaller, of course, the number, but in the meantime a regular show has around 500 to 900 views, and this is really a lot. But I really enjoy that during the live shows we have let's call it a small amount of people who are active in the comments who I can communicate with, because just imagine we had like 100 people in the comments here. I won't be able to, attend to all of you or to be able to communicate with you. I'll just have to read every 10th comment or something. And if you ask me, and this is my absolutely honest opinion, I don't really want 100 people or 500 people watching live. But at some point, with the group growing, it will happen. But once again, we don't promote those shows. We don't do ads about them, and it's just an offer for those people who want to be here. And of course, there is also the recording, which lots and lots of people actually wait for to be available, so that they can watch it in the evenings after they have put their kids to bed, or after they have finished work, or after just when they have time. Some watch it on the weekends. This is when the numbers go a lot up once again. It continues. I feel you're giving so much of your time for this community, so at least more people should be there, at least for respect's sake and more knowledge and learning, even if we get 1 or 2K viewers later, but who knows whether they really watch a script through. Of course, you're right. It's up to the group members. If they want to, they can watch. If they don't want to, they don't. It's up to them. This is not mandatory. I think it's smart to do that. This is why I'm doing this show, and this is why many people, even very seasoned and skilled artists, make sure to watch the show and profit from it. But in the end of the day, it's up to the artists themselves. If they want to, they watch it. If not, they not. We won't be making this mandatory. I see your point, and I agree with you. I'm personally very okay with the numbers, and so is Kels. We're talking about views, and we'll reach our quotas in the beginning of the year, so everything else is seen as a bonus. Maybe we can, at some point, we can start promoting these shows. I also want to, I saved all the episodes because they will be removed from the group. Facebook decided to do this. So I saved all the episodes that we've had so far, and I'll probably upload them on YouTube. And maybe when the YouTube channel also gains popularity, more and more people will start showing up for the shows. But once again, I'm very comfortable with the way it is now, because I really enjoy communicating with you. And I cannot really imagine how it would be once the group grows immensely and like many people or hundreds of people start watching. Anyway, let's continue with the news. And to those watching the recording later, much love to you as well. Okay, so a few announcements before we continue, because today we have a very interesting session in front of us. Anima 6 is out, and it's absolutely awesome. I'll leave the music in. I hope there are no issues with it. Anima for crowd animations mostly, but now there are also traffic simulations, and even included vehicle libraries where you can change the colors and some other aspects of the vehicles. And I personally find this Real to be absolutely impressive. It absolutely makes me want to try it out as soon as possible, because just look at those early scenes here in the beginning. It's so realistic. And honestly, I think one of the later situations, this one, for example, this here or this here, this could be straight up from a car advertisement. It's so good. So if you haven't tried it out, and if you're an Anima user, definitely switch over to Anima 6, because now you'll be able to not only have the crowds, but also the traffic simulation as well. And both are also interconnected, so no person or no pedestrian will be going over the street at the same time a car is driving over it, which is of course amazing and makes your life way easier. Let's continue. Ahmad says, no, we need to save them. Please do what is needed, Theo. These are treasures for the future. I'm glad to see that you see it this way. And of course, I've already downloaded them all from the group, and I will upload them somewhere for everyone to see. And in future, I think 2 weeks later than the episode, let's say before the next show starts, I will upload a previous episode also to YouTube for more people to see. But once again, to us, to me, and Chaos, having large numbers is not a priority. What we are looking for, what we want to emphasize on, is having a great group of people, even if they're like 50 people, but they are awesome people who are ready to or willing to support each other, to help each other. This is what the whole thing is about. It's not about the numbers, okay? If Chaos wanted, of course, they could have a huge ad campaign and promote this group everywhere, but there is no point in that. What we want to do is for this group to organically grow, for people who join it to actually understand what this group is about, that it is not the next gallery, but it's actual educational community. So yeah, let's give it time. We don't need to hurry. It's great the way it is going, and let's enjoy the way it is, because I can see in the distant future, I don't think it's even such a distant future at all, where there will be way more people, the group will be way more active, and then this very close and very personal communication that we have now can potentially get lost, just because of, once again, I cannot communicate with 500 people in the comment section. It's just impossible, right? So let's enjoy it as long as we have it, because at some point, I mean, like it was for, let's say, 2 years ago, I could still write a comment to every post. Nowadays, it's very difficult to do so, because there are so many posts in the group that I cannot do it without your help and the help of everybody else. Otherwise, I'll be doing it the whole day. And this will grow even more. At some point, even if I do it the whole day, I still won't be able to keep up with all the works that are shared. So let's enjoy it while we have this very cozy and nice community, which still has reasonable numbers, because at some point it will be so big that we'll lose some of it, I assume. Hopefully not, of course. Okay, let's continue with the next announcement. Corona 12 update 2 dropped last week, and it has mostly technical improvements, but also it has some new features as well. And there is this great video that I'll share with you now in the comment section, where Tom is telling us everything we need to know about the new features, showing everything noteworthy, and actually there are some really cool things. So maybe when you finish your current work, this is always a recommendation on my side, don't change your render engine or your 3D software version while you're working on something that you need to deliver on a certain deadline. Wait until the project is finished and then update your 3D software, your render engine, whatever, your plugins, but not while working. So finish your current work and then install the new Corona 12 update 2 version. I think you will like it. I've already done it. Okay, let's stop this one. And oh yeah, by the way, talking about Corona, if some of you, we never sell you stuff during our shows, neither the Chaos Campus Live show, nor the Viz Academy show, nor any other show. We never do this in order to sell stuff. But sometimes there are deals that I think are worth your attention, and then I always make sure to show them to you. And currently we have such a deal. So if you now buy a Corona annual license, you will be getting a course with it worth 300 euros from Academia. So it seems it's like very ArchViz oriented. So if you were at the point where you need to buy a new license anywhere or something, this is a good time to do so. And then you need to hurry actually a bit, because there are only limited seats available. It's 100 for Corona, where you need to use the code C Jumpstart. And for V-Ray, there is something similar. In this case, you need to use the code V Jumpstart when buying an annual license, and you'll also be getting a course like this, which will be showing you interior and exterior techniques. So, you get not only the software, but also a lot of knowledge with it for free, or within the price of the software, which I think is a really cool deal. Anyway, let's move on to something which dropped literally a few minutes ago. Vantage 2.8 is out now and has some really sweet features on it. There is a page that you can check them out. They're described here. I'll also share it in the comments. Yeah, so the shader execution reordering, SER shortened, promises performance gains up to 80%, which is huge. Usually or normally something like 10 to 20% is huge. So I cannot even imagine what it is when we talk about 80% up to, obviously, but 80%, this is huge. Also, Some other neat features like light linking so that you can include or exclude objects from your light sources, lens effects for further realism, parallax shader. This makes so much sense, and this is such a huge step ahead because you use Vantage in order to save time, right? And parallax solutions are also a huge time saver, so combining both is just amazing. Temporal consistency while scattering and switching materials. Once again, a huge step forward when it comes to saving your time, because switching the materials instead of, having to go back, rework the materials and so on is a huge deal and will once again save you a lot of time. So if you're a Vantage user, finish your current work and then make sure to update to version 2.8. I think these are enough news for today. There is also a video. I think Abdi wanted to share it in the community. It's 5.5 minutes, so I won't be showing this to you here to not waste any more time. But you see all of these features that we just discussed presented here in this video. I think Abdi shared it, but let me also drop it in the comments here because why not? Okay, enough news for today. Let's check out where you can eventually learn something new. Apart from the Chaos Academy, of course, I'm showing this to you every time, but it's just awesome. And also, it now has some new courses on Enscape, which is very, very cool. By the way, in recent times, I gotta be honest with you, we're keeping it real in this show. It's not just a wordplay with the name. We're actually keeping it real and are honest with each other. For the most time, I thought that, Enscape is nice, but it's like how SketchUp used to be compared to 3ds Max, for example. It's like a nice thing to have, but it's not so good or capable as the other things that are around or industry standards. And obviously, if you compare Enscape to Corona or V-Ray, it's not as good. But recently, like in the last weeks, I've seen some images made in Corona that are, in Enscape, that have been really, really high quality. Like a high quality which convinces me to think, okay, this is actually a solid alternative. My absolutely honest opinion. For the most time, I thought, yeah, okay, it's kind of nice, it's quick and so, but in recent times, I see some works that are really high level and that you can see in a glossy magazine and that totally belong there. So yeah, Enscape seems to be evolving a lot, which is great, actually. But yeah, I think it's those people who do those images aren't actually architects or designers. In case you think, well, yeah, if Enscape evolves so much, won't I be losing my job as a 3D artist? I think that the people who are use Enscape for visualizing and the people who create those immersive and really good-looking works are actual 3D artists and not architects, just so you know. So yeah, it's just another tool for them, the same way it is V-Ray or Corona for you and me. Anyway, if you want to learn something else like V-Ray for SketchUp, for example, I have something for you, or our friend Fletson has your back, better say, because he has started a course where he wants to show you these techniques needed to create the images that you see here. And the images are very, very nice, especially the interiors. I really like them. This one and this one is my favorite. This is such a good image. It's not only nicely done and realistic, it's also so emotional, has very solid storytelling and everything. So yeah, and as far as I can tell, if I go on the, if I follow the link here, he shared this in the community, but as far as I can tell, the whole course costs 50 USD, which is more than a fair price for the knowledge that you're getting. So if you want to learn V-Ray for SketchUp, if you want to up your skills, gladly go and try it out with Fletson. It's not a huge investment, but you can support a fellow artist and group member. And also, 2 recommendations from the community on the previous, like the 49th episode of the show. I asked you if you come across a new channel or something which catches your attention and is very good and recommendable, gladly drop it in the community so that everybody else can profit from what you've just found. And actually, Virtu and Amir listened And what you shared, this channel called CG Nikita. You can see his post in the group, and it's actually a very, very cool one, especially has good tutorials for Max and Corona and even some for Unreal. There are specific topics, like shorter videos with specific topics, like a certain material or something. But there are also, let's say, full walkthroughs, such as, interior modeling from zero to hero. So definitely recommend this one. It's really good. And what Amir shared was Meshy AI. It's an AI tool where you can create 3D assets from images or prompts, or where you can texture your clay models based on prompts, which is also very, very sweet. When you register for free, you only need an email. You don't need to give any credit card numbers or something like this. You get those 100 points or whatever you want to code them. And you get them every month. If you need more, you can also go for other plans. I'm not trying to do an ad for this page here, but I've also tried it in the past, and it's actually pretty sweet. So if you're into this type of stuff, if you need something like this, maybe there is an object that you really want to, let's say, from your child, a drawing by your child, or maybe the favorite toy of your child, or maybe something that you have, and you want to make a photo of it and turn it into a 3D model that you then start putting in every one of your scenes, you can do it here, for example. Oh, I see the chat has been active and I'm missing out on it. Ahmad says, can Vantage replace V-Ray in near future in order to save rendering time? I don't think so. I think V-Ray is so capable and can do so many things. I don't think that Vantage will reach this level of realism. But I think that Vantage can be a very legit alternative to V-Ray and Corona. Yes, because it's quicker. It's not so photorealistic, but it's way quicker. It says not exactly, but it will become powerful rendering solutions. Yeah, exactly. Leslie, I used Inkscape in my earlier renders circa 2021. Yeah, I think it has evolved a lot, and it's very, very sweet. There is an Inkscape community online. I think we can maybe find it on Facebook, and then if we search Inkscape, we can, here, Inkscape official community group, and there you can see some works that are not that great, but also some really, really good interiors. I'm not sure I found them here. Maybe it was on Instagram or somewhere else, but something like this also looks fairly sweet, right? Anyway, let me check the comments. Amir says, welcome back, Danushka. Welcome back, Theo. Danushka is here. That's very, very cool. Folks, let's continue. I think we're through with all the general parts, the news and learning. So let's together check out some inspiration, shall we? And we'll start with a very interesting one. By the way, today's works have something in common, and this is that they all are practice works, yet they're very, very different. And this is why I gathered them here, because I want to show you the different phases of practicing visualization. So we'll start with a very elaborate work called Prism by Ahmad. Let's see what he has to say about it. Hi everyone, I'm excited to finally share our latest visualization project, Prism. It's a conceptual design set beside the water in New York. In a city full of boxes, this one was all about doing something different. The idea was to create a sharp, glowing form that stands out from the usual grid and brings something bold and sculptural to the skyline. Before showing the final renders, we also had some fun creating a short teaser. Using AI, we reimagined the project in a Gotham-style comic world to explore the mood differently. It gave the concept a darker, more graphic edge before revealing its real identity. From shaping the geometry and modeling the site to lighting, custom texturing, rendering, and AI-enhanced retouching, every step was focused on building atmosphere and telling a story. You can check out the full project on my Behance. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm happy to connect with fellow Archviz folks. I really love this one. Happy to connect with fellow Archviz folks, and this is the absolutely right group for that. Anyway, let's check out the images and see what they look like together. So I think just by looking at the very first shot, we can all agree that this is one absolutely very elaborate work where a lot of love, but also a lot of effort has been put into, because we have all those buildings and the urban infrastructure and, you know, some vehicles and water surroundings and also green spaces and whatnot. So this is a huge one. Personally, I assume that probably Ahmad has used some type of a kit bash kit or maybe some ready-made surroundings from ARC models or whatnot. I'm not sure about that though. It's possible that everything has been modeled from scratch. I don't think so, especially if you want to focus on something like storytelling, lighting, atmosphere. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense to spend weeks on creating some surrounding buildings and riverbeds and whatnot. It's just a waste of time in my book. So if a kit bash kit or some type of set has been used here, I have absolutely no issue with this, just for the sake of, you know, transparency and learning for the others who read your description. Gladly mention it as well. But once again, it's possible that everything was done from scratch. In this case, wow. Okay, now let's talk about the lighting. So first of all, lighting is great. It's very authentic. I think it's a very believable depiction of a urban evening or night even. It's very atmospheric. It's exciting to look at. Just look at that sky. It's very, very cool. And it also very much supports the compositions. Like, you always made sure that despite tons of lights in the scene, which is very normal for an urban situation like this, the prism still has those nice tonal contrasts and sticks out. Modeling and materials, they're great on the prism. We even see a close-up here, and also on the important scenes where we have objects close to the camera, like the hood of this car. It even has some droplets on it, water droplets, because it's like a post-rain mood. That's an amazing detail here. And regarding the materials in general, because we have this huge scene, and a scene like this usually isn't about this specific one material or modeling. It's more generalistic, but I still think that the materials that we see here and the modeling are absolutely convincing enough for a realistic general impression of the whole scene. The highlights to me here are exactly what Ahmad actually wanted to focus on. It's the framings and the atmosphere. The framings and the compositions are actually great examples of natural framing done in an urban environment. Doesn't matter if it's the cranes or the view from a yacht deck or the bird view between some high-rise buildings, or the driver's point of view, or the angle between the tree crowns here. All above are wonderful compositions. And then we have the impactful close-ups where the building is kind of secondary, like here, but some aspects of it are the primary topic. Like here, for example, it's the facade cladding, the illumination, the artificial illumination of the facade. And on this one, it's about the water feature, the situation around the building. And the atmosphere, it's absolutely believable. We have those lit up streets and buildings and public areas. And I really like this authentic mix of designed lighting and random lighting, because if you zoom in, you'll see that there are those street lights that are evenly scattered, and it makes sense because a street needs to be evenly lit up for the sakes of safety, right? But at the same time, we have those windows of the buildings in the back which are randomly lit up, and this once again makes a ton of sense because it's the evening. Maybe some of these are office buildings and people start leaving for home. Maybe these are residential buildings and people start coming back from work or from whatever they were. But it's not all of them at the same time. This is why they're not lit up like a Christmas tree, but it's a window here and there, and that's absolutely great. Also, what I really enjoy is this evening fog. Makes a lot of sense, especially after rain. And also you have this steam coming out of those vents in the streets, very typical for cities like New York. And then also the populated streets, the populated squares, all of this makes this session very, very credible and also strong and emotional. And I love this. Now, in terms of improvements, I don't think it's so much about improvement or it's more about my thoughts and ideas, how you can make this even better. So I would say for the bird view shot, this one, it would be pretty cool if we had some type of a relatable foreground, meaning that we can imagine that a photographer is standing atop of something, being it a balcony or a rooftop or something like this, but maybe just show a tiny bit of this, gladly with depth of field to it, so that it feels more relatable rather than a more generic drone shot. And when it comes to this shot here, I think it once again would feel more relatable if it was taken from inside the car, like it's a screenshot someone took while driving or staying in a traffic jam, rather than atop of the car, because this is more of a render shot rather than an actual simulation of a, let's say, smartphone shot. Now regarding the video, let's all watch together. I hope that we won't have
in a city of boxes, one shape broke the rules. Rain, bats, thunder, prism didn't flinch. It glowed. It stood out. It gave them something to believe in. For now, the city sleeps safe.
Obviously, this is absolutely dope. Like, as somebody who grew up with Batman comics and movies, I absolutely adore the dark and gritty Gotham-esque atmosphere that you have created here. It's also a very interesting mix of this 2D layered animation and actual 3D movement, like here, for example. It's also very cinematic. The color scheme is awesome. The sound and the narrator were spot on. My issue with this one is that it's telling a bit too many stories. Is it, in the end of the day, I'm not sure, is it about Batman or is it about the structure, or is there some type of a connection between those two? I think you could have left Batman out of this and could have focused just on the structure. Who knows, maybe this is some kind of a new villain who has their headquarters in the prism or something like this, you know, because currently there are two separate stories going in the same time, which is a bit confusing. But obviously, apart from all this has been an absolutely amazing exercise on so many topics, actually, on urban depiction, on mood creation, on storytelling, and you did an amazing job with it. And this is a project that I think most artists would love having in their portfolios, myself included. It's absolutely amazing. So wonderful job, Ahmad. Oh, I see in the meantime, Cam joined us, Ulfat. Ulfat says, wow, amazing lighting. Yeah, it definitely is. How he made the thunder, you know, in the animation, it's probably a prompt. I don't know which AI software was used here.
In a city of...
He doesn't mention it. He just talks about AI. But I think it's a result of a prompt. This is what makes the most sense in this particular case, I would say. Anyway, let's skip this one and move over to the next project. And next we have something very, very interesting, something also very, very different. Now, the first one was a huge, elaborate work. The next ones, or the following ones, won't be that big, I promise. But once again, it's about how diverse and interesting practice projects can be. So here we have something else, entirely else, both in scale and purpose, because this one is done for academic purposes and for teaching others. Let's see what Mahmoud has to say about it. My latest project in automotive design, the Mercedes Dynamic Sports Car. The project was for academic purposes in the university to showcase some potential adjustments using the software to make the design more practical. So the form-finding algorithm for the car body due to different targets like air, stability, wing brakes, and other things via Grasshopper. The software used is Rhino 8 for the 3D modeling, Grasshopper for the pattern attractor both on the body and the tires, and also in the basic stages of the form-finding, and V-Ray 7 for the rendering. And yeah, let's check it out. I mean, it's a very cool work. It's the car design, it's sleek, it's futuristic, but I think it's also kind of believable in terms of, first of all, aerodynamics, which is a very important thing nowadays. Obviously, it has to do with fuel consumption, it has to do with speed, and also when it comes to implementability, this looks like something that could be an actual car in the end. And I gotta say, I love these lit up rims. I know they're very impractical because they're just another thing that has electricity on it and is then way more eager to, fail or need repairs and something that like compared to regular rims, but it just looks so goddamn cool, right? It's just awesome. Anyway, the main shot, very cool. I think it's also very realistic. Could be an actual Mercedes advertisement. If you add the typical very elegant letters and the logos and everything, it would be very, very convincing. The highlight to me, however, is actually the modeling on this work because it's just so smooth and clean. It's a complex form, it's a tricky one, but just take a look at the mesh. So clean, so easy. And you did a great, great job with the parametric part. And Grasshopper is a wonderful and also very powerful tool. And it seems like you know how to utilize it. It's very visible here. Similar to Ahmad's work, I don't have really things to improve. It's rather thoughts and ideas that I would share with you. First thing is that I don't really see doors on this car. It seems like getting into it would be rather tricky. It should be probably dropped from above or something. So yeah, this could be problematic in terms of, implementation and stuff, unless I don't understand some very tricky system. And also, I kind of miss the lit up sides. You show them here. This backlit parametric structure, which looks amazing, but unfortunately we don't see it here on the main shot. And I think it's a pity because not only does it look cool as hell, but it also emphasizes this awesome parametric structure that you spent, I assume, a lot of time creating. So maybe just turn it back in, light this up, and it will look cooler, in my opinion. And regarding the background of this main shot, this is, I don't know, I'm not quite sure about it because it's maybe a bit generic. I've seen maybe mineral water or milk advertisements having the very same looking background, and I think when you have a background or a surrounding for a car, it's not only there to look nice, as it does in this case, it's also there to send a subliminal message. And I'm not sure about said message in your situation. Does it mean that this car is very suitable for driving in the mountains? Or is it using sustainable energy and it's good for the environment? What does this image try to tell me? Because usually when they put cars in the mountains, it's usually on some roads. Why? Because driving on the highway, you may make some very high speeds there, but it's boring, right? You just need to drive, you need to focus on the road, and you need to be aware if some asshole is going to swerve in your driveway and cause an accident, right? Whereas driving in the mountains is way more challenging, but it's also way more fun. This is why they usually put cars on roads in the mountains, because it's pleasant to look at, but it's also a very great pleasure to drive there. Here, you put it on something like Scandinavian cold beach or whatever this is supposed to be, and it seems like this car is meant for this type of terrain or something. I'm not quite sure. So just giving you a bit of a food for thought. When you do something like this, don't only think about this looking cool, but also think about the message that you're providing to the viewer with an image like this. Apart from that, awesome practice, and gladly send it to Mercedes and see what they say about this concept. Who knows, maybe you're the next designer. Okay, let's move on to something different. Once again, an experimental animation this time. It's a work by Ahmad. He's been doing a lot of these short animations, and they're always very, very interesting to watch. And this one is no exception. It's a destruction, or maybe better, a restruction animation, where at the beginning this building is kind of decomposed, then assembles together. Now, if we stop or pause the video at this point, you will see that it's actually a very great artist shot on its own, which has an awesome lighting with a dark foreground and the building nicely popping up. It has good framing, it has nice realistic looking materials and modeling. So I think this is a phase where most artists would just say, okay, that's enough, it's looking great already, I'll share it. Not Ahmad, however. He was like, nope, I want to go further, I want to make the most out of my work. We talked about it on the 49th episode of the show. So he decided to also exercise his tie flow skills as well. And this is obviously the highlight for me here. Because what he did is this destruction, or once again, maybe restruction animation here, and it's absolutely greatly done, up to the point where it's actually almost triggering, I would say, especially to people who have maybe experienced the devastation of an earthquake. When they see this, they will totally get some nasty flashbacks. And of course, by doing this, the video becomes way more unique and gains attention, which is very important for an artist. Now, is it good in terms of real estate marketing? It obviously isn't, because a falling apart or a fallen apart structure is the opposite of what people who want to invest or buy a house want to see. But in terms of getting the attention of potential clients, it's a great thing, because let's say maybe a client will reach out who says, you know what, I don't want you to do a deconstructed building, but I want you to do a, let's say I have a perfume bottle and I want you to put it in a concrete box and then to have the box explode around it, and all you have in the end, in the final shot, is just a hero shot of my perfume bottle and some debris of this construction. And now Ahmad knows how to do it. So yeah, the knowledge gathered with something like this is definitely something that can be used on an actual commercial work. And it's another great video, Ahmad, so keep them coming. Let me pause this and we can continue. Mariana says, could you please put the volume of videos a bit down so we can continue to hear you? Yo, I'm sorry about this. Yeah, this is, with these videos, which are reels actually, I cannot really do this unless I go down here. Let me check this one, please. I'll start it once again. Tell me if the sound of the video is now lower. So, can you hear me now? Because the reels, you cannot control the volume of a reel. I can control it on a regular video, but not on a reel. So please let me know if it feels better now. And in the meantime, I will make sure to move over to the next work. Mario says, my ears. Okay, so is it still so loud? I'm sorry for this. But I tried to change some settings. I lowered the volume of my desktop audio. This should have actually had an impact on the volume of this reel, or didn't it? Seems like it didn't. Okay, good to know. I'll try to figure it out for the next show, I promise. Anyway, let's continue with Leslie. Les, I saw you in the comments earlier. I hope you're still here. Once again, we have something different of a practice or an experiment. This time it's about the enhancement of 3D people. I call this a girl in a cafe. Let's see what Leslie has to say about this. Hello everyone, here is a shot I really like from a set of images I've been developing. I've been testing Magnific all weekend and was able to achieve some impressive results by combining it with my original render. In this case, it was used to enhance this 3D woman from Cosmos Library and also get some fine details on the wall mural, and lastly get some details on the pillows and seating. 3ds Max and Corona for the renders, post in Photoshop, and original render without post or AI in the comments. Let me know what you think. So great description, Leslie, and let me first show you the original render output. And what you can see here is that it is already looking very, very good. Remember, for a good enhancement, you need a good base. The better the base, the better the enhanced result will also be. And also, the right approach is not to try to press a button once and have the whole scene enhanced. Instead, focus on certain areas, certain parts of your render. Let's say the pillows, the cushions, this woman here, the windows, the reflections, the floor, and then do your prompt according to this one, and then go over to Photoshop or whatever software you use layers, use masking, and make sure that you only work with things that are properly enhanced and really look good and make your work look better in the end. Also, what we see here on this work is that the girl model is actually great on its own. It's just a very good looking, high quality asset. It's because of the asset itself, it's because of the girl, because she has a very lively and believable posture, like she's telling a story, speaking with someone. And also, one additional detail that we have here, it's the headscarf. The headscarf is hiding her hair, and hair, on especially long hair, is the major snitch when it comes to recognizing 3D people. Like, they can have very good looking textures, very high quality, but the moment you see their hair, which looks like a huge dread, you know, it's a 3D person. With the headscarf, it's covering her hair, so we don't see it and it doesn't snitch this being a 3D model. Still, let's compare with the enhanced version. And what do we see here? If we zoom in on her, well, it's definitely an improvement. Her face looks real now. It's like an actual human being. It's so authentic. It has emotion. It has imperfections. And her clothing is more detailed as well. It has other imperfections. It has wrinkles on it. Even her shoes have some dirt on them. This is so believable and realistic. If you've had shoes like this, you know that after you wear them like 3 to 5 times, they start looking like this. Even if you wash them, you cannot get this dirt away anymore. And also same goes for the pillows. They have also gotten some wrinkles and some more detail. So this enhancement was definitely a huge improvement. Now, I don't have anything to criticize here. My only idea that I shared with Leslie was it seems like she's talking to somebody who is actually sitting on the chair that we see here. But the person who she's actually talking to, at least in this depiction, is actually sitting on the sofa next to her, which doesn't make so much sense together with her posture. So what I would recommend, or what I would do in a situation like this, is I would just take the dude and place them with his back to the camera on this chair here, but I wouldn't show more than is shown already here, so just a part of his arm, because it's not about this dude or this woman, it's about the storytelling, the beginning of a beautiful friendship, or maybe a romance, even within the limits of this cafe. So the storytelling is already there. It could be eventually a bit more believable if this dude was sitting where the woman is looking at. That's it. But all in all, great exercise and outcome less. And I think the weekend that you spent with Magnific was definitely worth it. Fatia is here. I also saw Cam and Ulfat joining us. It's great to have you here, guys and girls. Ulfat also says, I think there must be another human where the woman is talking to. Yeah, this is exactly what I meant. Just take the dude, mirror him, and make him visible exactly as it is now, just from his backside, so that she's talking to somebody and not into the empty air. Other than that, awesome. Okay, let's continue to another practice, another exercise that clearly shows that practicing or exercising doesn't necessarily mean investing a huge amount of time and effort. Sometimes it's just enough to do a tiny bit of something, but you need to do it right. So Sefedin says here, hi, I'm sharing this small personal composition focused on lighting exploration and detail work set in a simple yet carefully crafted atmosphere. The goal was to create a coherent and balanced mood, but subtly playing with shadows, materials, and color tones. It's created in 3ds Max for the modeling, Corona for the rendering, and Photoshop for the post-production. I hope you like it. This, by the way, is also a great, very minimalistic description. It's literally 3 sentences, one of which is, I hope you like it, and 3 bullet points about the render, the software used. So you can do this if you don't have much time. You can do this in literally 2 minutes, but everyone will still understand what the whole thing is about, which makes it easier to evaluate. By the way, folks, those of you who want to watch the Inkscape tutorial or webinar live, now it's the time to move on because it has started a minute ago. You can watch the rest of Keeping It Realistic as a recording, or you watch the Inkscape webinar as a recording. It's up to you. I won't be mad, I promise. Anyway, let's continue talking about Sefedin's work. And this is exactly what I meant. It's Ahmad says, I'm happy here. Much love, man. And you see what we talked about. It's a very simple scene. It's literally a bench in front of a wall. That's it. Yet it got Sefedin, if we go back to this, it got Sefedin a lot of very positive attention and positive comments. How come? Such a simple scene and something like this happens. Well, it is because it is very beautifully pulled off. First of all, we have some awesome tonal contrasts which make the image dynamic and visually exciting to look at. We have a beautiful, harmonious color scheme, which once again is so pleasant to see. We have great materials, realistic, convincing, and we have finely balanced and beautifully framed composition. That's it. If you have all the ingredients and they are all done right, then the cuisine that you're cooking will be tasty in the end. Nobody says that only the most complex things that you cook are the tastiest. Sometimes you only need 2 or 3 ingredients if they are the right ones, if they are combined skillfully. That's what you get. Simple as that. Only improvement here, by the way, take a look at this before we talk about this. Take a look at this highlight here. Here you see why is it so important to use chamfer or something like route edges map or something like this, because without this highlight here, without this chamfering, you have the dark side of the bench directly closing to the bright side, and this will be very, very unnaturally looking. But now you have this transition with a chamfer, and this is exactly what brings a lot of realism. It's maybe just a tiny detail, but it's crucial for realism, believe me. Anyway, the only issue I may have with this work is actually this material, the material of the bench, because it seems like it's veneer. And veneer, at least in my experience, is always a kind of a cheap material. You know, this is something which, if you have a scratch in it, it already looks bad, you know. And it doesn't really fit the classiness of this scene. So I would rather suggest going for massive wood. So maybe have a bit of a bump or maybe very slight displacement, but you need to have maybe an 8K map for a shot like this in order for the displacement to really look good and be subtle as well. But apart from that, this is a work that in Germany will be described as klein aber fein, meaning small but very well done. So thumbs up, Sefedin. Let's continue with this one. This is very, very interesting. Kem, I saw you in the comments. I hope you're still here. We've never talked about the work of yours. You're, I think, also new to the show. So welcome. I hope you enjoyed so far. And next we'll be talking about another great way of practicing, which is doing reproductions. To me, one of the best ways to exercise as a 3D artist. Just make sure to use photos as your reference and not other renders, because other renders are already a depiction of reality seen through somebody's eyes. And so if you do this, it becomes a kind of an inception. So don't do this. If you really want to learn, try to always get photography, actual photography, and good photography, obviously, as a source, as original source of your references. Kemish here. Nice to see you, man. Glad that you're still here. Okay, so let's see what you have to say about your work. Hi, a little practice with Corona Renderer 12. Project is De Amicis 154 Giovanni Baccarini, Italia. I don't know any Italian, so please excuse my bad Italian. Anyway, let me show you the original project for a second. This is the building, a very clean one, almost a sterile one, but something like this is actually pretty cool, especially if the surroundings are not that sterile, not that clean and orderly like in this case, and then you have something like this. It makes for a really, really nice contrast. So let's take a look at Cam's images. It's a very good scene, so maybe here, the recreation of the building, I think it's very authentic, it's very nicely done, the proportions seem very correct. What I really enjoyed here is the street space is very well done, we have great textures, imperfections as well, weathering here on the curbs, some fallen leaves to make the scene look more lively, more believable. Also, very nice variations on the greenery. I really, really enjoyed these 4 trees that you have done here in the front. Usually, in a situation like this, alongside with the construction of the building, some plants will be planted. This is just seen from an architectural perspective, okay? So these 4 trees are most likely being planted in one and the same time. However, even if you plant something in one and the same hour, one and the same minute, there is a big difference how it grows depending on the light it gets. So let's say the building in the back throws shadow on the trees here. It would actually make a ton of sense for them to be smaller than the one on the side, which gets more natural light and can grow more. Those two are the same size and this one is smaller. You did this really, really authentically because people tend to go and either with the same tree, just rotate it a bit, the repetition is visible in this case, or with something else, which is like very different trees and completely randomized, which has no botanical logic behind it. In your case, there is actually very, very solid logic. I don't know if it was deliberate, but it's a great depiction of the nature of the surroundings. The lighting, obviously, soft and warm, producing those sweet, long shadows. It's a pleasure to look at, right? And also incredibly atmospheric as well. It's a beautiful golden hour. Who doesn't enjoy this? Aerial perspective, great as well. It gives a wonderful feeling of depth, especially if we zoom in here. You see this, it's awesome. And especially in combination with the light, it looks great and it works great. To me, however, with all of these things said so far, to me the major highlight of your work is actually that you decided to give it your own take. Instead of going for further artifice shots like it is here, for example, you decided to go for an automotive session, which I think is absolutely great because you created something new and unique on the base of something existing, on the base of this reproduction. And this is something that we actually talked about on the last but one episode of the show, the 49th episode, where I showed you this project of mine, which is a commercial work. And after finishing it, I decided to use this as a backdrop for an automotive session of one of my all-time favorite cars and created something new along the way. And yeah, funny enough, you even have an angle which is very similar to one of the angles that I just shown you here. As I agree, your lighting is more emotional, it's more impactful, but other than that, those two are very, very similar. In terms of improvement, you have a bit of a floating curbs. You see it here, and I think it was this shot. The curb is floating. It should actually be lying on the asphalt. It's not realistic otherwise, so just put them closer together to make the gap minimal. And also, I agree with Mariana on this. The car is maybe a bit too shiny, and the bloom and glare on it are over the top. I mean, it definitely fits the atmosphere. It fits the over the top golden hour mood. But yeah, if you want it to be maybe a bit more realistic, maybe you can tone it down a bit. But apart from this, really an inspiring project and recreation camp. Ahmad says, Cam, honestly, did you think about what Theo said about the trees, or you just put it there because you thought so? I don't want to. I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So why not? I mean, if someone has actually seen trees growing or situations like this, this is something that they will know and maybe implement this way. Sometimes we just don't have the time. We'll just make a 1D scatter along a line and call it a day and just randomize the one and the same object. I just, reviewing these works, I try to also talk about some general topics and not only specific stuff around the work, because there are many things that we have to think about or deal with while working on a project like this. So I try to mention them so that maybe the next time you have an exterior that has some maybe newly planted trees, you can keep this in mind. It says it was a very good explanation, Theo. I liked it. Yeah, you're very welcome. Hope you like it. And most of all, I hope that you guys also try to remember some of these, because the more you know, the more you consider things like that, the more your works will be authentic and realistic. Cam says, I love classic cars. Yeah, too. I think they're way cooler than the modern cars nowadays. I like classic cars way more. Just the details on the inside, with the chrome and everything. It's just so much better. But yeah, to each their own. It says, we as artists sometimes never think of such things, but some artists really catches the details. Well, don't forget, I'm an architect, and I've also worked in urban design studio, and there some things like this are considered. This is why I also do a sun path study on every work I do, because I really try to be close to reality, but I also want to know where it actually makes sense to position some things and where it really doesn't, according to the sun positioning. Okay, let's continue with the final work we want to review for today. It is something else. It's a scattering exercise, and a really, really cool one. It's by Mohsen. He says, hello, this was a practice render for scattering. I hope you like it. It's done in 3ds Max and Corona. And is there much to say here? It's once again a very simple but absolutely lovely and unique practice. So the scattering has worked out great. Let's go to the zoom in shots. As you can see, it's very believable. Those wooden splinters flying all around add so much dynamic and actual force and weight to the scene. It's amazing to see. And it seems like you're very smart with your scattering. Mohsen used 3 types of scatters. One for I think the major parts, or wooden, what were they called? Wooden splinters. Then for the bigger ones, and then for the smaller ones, which fly the furthest. So the scattering has worked flawlessly, and it makes for a really realistic and authentic impact of this scene. And the staging is also very, very convincing. It looks like the wood has just been split into 2 pieces. And some people complained here about the motion blur, that those 2 pieces of wood look too static. I don't agree with this. First of all, we have a bit of a motion blur, but if this was motion blurry, if those 2 pieces or splits of wood have been motion blurry, then we would have needed motion blur on all of these small particles as well. And this would have been a pity, because it would have taken a lot of the clarity of this image away. And I really, really enjoy it for the depth of field and for the clarity it suggests. And also, regarding motion blur, I just said it, I mostly try to share with you general stuff within the limits of work we're talking about. So let's talk a bit about the motion blur theory, okay? So you have a camera, And this camera has an aperture, which closes. And during the day, when there is a lot of light, this aperture closes very, very quickly because there is not enough light out there. And if it closes slowly, it will lead to overexposure. When there is not enough light, like in the evenings or with interiors, even during the day, then the aperture closes way slower to avoid underexposure and to capture more light. And while it is in the process of closing, if movement happens, this is when we get motion blur. So in a situation like this, where we have enough natural light out there, we're not expected to have motion blur. If this was an evening shot, if this was an interior shot, then it would have been something else, because in order to have the interiors not be too dark, because you know how it is. If you try to take out your phone and take a photo in your living room or something, for example, it will most likely be quite dark. And this is where auto exposure comes into play and makes sure that your aperture closes way more slower. This is why images done within darker environments need to have a very, very stable, need to be done without your hands, going wild, because otherwise the image is not clear. During the day, however, you don't have so much motion blur. So stop doing cars and stuff during clear sunny days with motion blur. If you want to go for motion blur, then change the lighting. I hope this was clear. It says it's like a photo taken in sports mode on DSLR. Yeah, this is exactly as it is, and it's really, really amazing. I also like the assets used, because the tree stump is a scan, so very realistic, even for a close-up. The X model is great, looks really used, which makes it more authentic, more believable, and it was really very smart to use those two. And it's a great example of how it's done. A scene can be simple in its contents, but then every element should be top-notch, and then you can still have a great final outcome, and you can still get a lot of attention to your work if this is the case. So yeah, that's it. I think this is enough for inspiring works to review. I also want to very briefly show you another 3 works just to, pay attention to, because I really like them. This Egyptian coffee in the 1950s by Omar. Very, very cool, very emotional and atmospheric, and also I think authentic looking work. I really enjoyed going through this, especially the major shot here is very cool. Also, this work by Romain, it's like some 3D poetry. There is a whole science fiction future vision described here, which is really interesting to go through. And then these very poetic renders here telling a story and showcasing what we read about in the text. And finally, this work by Ravindo, the Range Rover, which is actually inspired by this shot by Romain, and but it's also very, very cool on its own. And there are also very many other good works. Remember, folks, when I don't show your work here within the inspiring works, it doesn't mean it's not good, it's not inspiring or something. It's just that the amount of good works grows and grows, and I cannot include them all, right? And in this particular case, I wanted to show you mostly practices rather than commercial works or whatever. And I hope you saw the different phases of practicing visualization and how interesting and diverse it can be. So if you say I practice 3D, this doesn't automatically mean something. There are many ways to do it, and all of them are great. Okay, so I think with this, it is maybe time for us to maybe quickly touch on today's topic or topics. I hope you're still awake, folks. I see a lot of you are still there. Let me get a sip of water. I have a ginger shot here as well, but I don't dare to drink it because, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't work that well in the live shows. Anyway, let's briefly talk about the last episode of the show. How to celebrate the 50th episode of Keeping It Realistic. We made a special session with some of you, very beloved group members. Here, Anna, Danushka, Kacper, Amit, and Amir. going live with me for the 50th episode, and it was a great success. Despite some technical issues Amir and I had, he wasn't able to connect to Riverside for the most time. I had some freezes and issues also. I don't know where they came from. The whole city here is a construction site right now because of fiberglass cables that we're getting in the city. Maybe this caused some interferences. I don't know, but I didn't have the best experience technically seen. Nevertheless, the show was a great success. It has more than 1,200 views in the meantime, which is really a lot. And also, what I heard from people, despite the show being almost 3 hours long, what I heard from viewers reaching out to me, telling me that it was so awesome, they enjoyed it so much that they didn't feel when all that time went by. So I think I consider it a great success. Also, my guests, respectively co-reviewers, did really, really well, especially given that they're not used to doing all of this, being in front of the camera on a regular basis. I mean, Kacper, he bought the camera just for this event. He didn't even have one. So yeah, they were not used. They were doing something in a non-native language, and they did it so well. But you may ask yourselves, why did the guests have to do that reviewing? Was it necessary? So let me explain my reasoning behind this. As a mentor in this community, I'm trying to give you things that you cannot get elsewhere, at least not for free. This is why I don't do tutorials, because there are tons of great tutorials out there which are done by people who are very experienced in doing tutorials, who are very technically knowledgeable, more than I am. So I don't think it makes sense to duplicate that when we already have it. At the same time, I'll stop this here maybe for a second and make myself on a widescreen. At the same time, what I can do for you, however, is I can review your works and provide you with well-meant and constructive feedback based on years of experience and a certain amount of success. I can share my insights and experiences with you by discussing topics that usually don't get discussed in YouTube tutorials. Like, we talked about how to deal with works that you're not so happy with the outcome of, or how to make the most out of your render projects. And of course, what I can also do for you is give you the chance to exercise your skills in a safe and friendly environment within the limits of the Chaos Campus group and the Keeping It Realistic show. And one of those skills that I want you to exercise is marketing yourself, putting yourself out there, leaving your comfort zone and doing something that I know you're not really that comfortable with. For example, reviewing works in English on a live event, even though you're not a native speaker, even though you feel nervous, even though you have self-doubts. This is why I decided to do the show like this and have my guests do reviews. Because I believe that in order to learn and advance, you need to challenge yourself. And let me give you an example. Before that, I'll read Ahmed's comments. He says, Rufat says, thank you, Theo, for the information. You're very welcome. This is what I'm here for. Ahmed says, thank you, Theo, for the kind words and giving us an opportunity to go live and connect with the group and let us share our part of the story. Yeah, you did that really, really well. We'll talk about it more after I finish giving you this example, because I said you need to leave your comfort zone, you need to challenge yourself. So I decided to give you an example from my own life. So I came to Germany here in 2004 to study architecture at the Technical University in Constance, right? And I was 18 back then, and I was the youngest. Most of the other students were mid-20s, 30s. There were even people in their 40s, right? So, and those people had some skills, like some of them were CAD drawers or technical drawers. Most of them had done internships in architectural offices or design offices. Some had even had buildings done after their plans, right? And I had no skill. The last years in high school, I had learned German, which, as you may imagine, isn't a big deal when you're among Germans, native speakers, right? So I was very shy about my skills and about presenting. And when we had group projects, I would often suggest that I do more of the work, but in the end, I do less of the presenting. And of course, all the people that I was in a group with agreed with this because it's a great deal for them, not for me, actually. Because try to imagine this from the point of view of a professor, you know. So you give a task to a group of students, let's say 3 people, they go away, a few weeks later they come back and they start presenting. 2 of them start presenting and being very passionate about this task, and the third one sits on the side shyly and like he doesn't know what he's about. And this third one, it was me. So obviously in the eyes of the professors, I was just a lazy bastard who probably hasn't even done a lot of work on the group project at all, which is not so great, as you may imagine. So I knew I had to change this for sure, especially with my bachelor thesis approaching. So what I decided to do is to visit a rhetorics seminar within the limits of the Technical University. And believe me, this was not a pleasant experience. So if this is my comfort zone here, the rhetorics seminar was somewhere here, okay? It was awful. You go into this small room where there is a camera, like a TV studio camera, like from the national news or the ones you see on football stadiums, on a huge tripod with a person behind it pointing it in different directions. And then you stand in front of this camera, like 1 or 2 meters away from it, and you're supposed to do presentations for all those people that are there with you and for the camera. You don't know many of those people, so they're kind of foreign to you. And it feels awful, believe me. Like, you know how in cartoons or in comics, there is a situation where the protagonist gets a devil and an angel on their shoulders, and they have very opposing opinions. Like, the devil is like, yeah, do it. And the angel is, no, you shouldn't be. In my case, it wasn't a devil and an angel. It was more of the one shoulder, it was pragmatism. It was being reasonable. It was being forward-looking and knowing exactly how useful this skill is going to be to me. On the other shoulder, I had anxiety, uncertainty, self-doubt. And the other shoulder was like, dude, just say that you're not feeling well, leave here and never come back. But I decided to pull through. And once again, it wasn't a pleasant time. I remember once we had this exercise where we needed to say something rhetorical to our audience and then pause for a few seconds, for like 3 seconds. And believe me, you do your presentation in front of all those people, in front of the camera, and then comes the moment where you say this rhetorical question and then you must do this pause of 3 seconds. This is fucking forever, okay? This is like you stop talking and you start counting in your head. And you think, okay, this is an eternity. People will just start throwing tomatoes at me or just stand up and start leaving and cursing at me. And then you watch the recording and it comes to this moment and you're anxious about the moment because you think, well, now comes the moment where I just stop talking for an hour or so, it felt. And then you just giving this rhetorical question like, what do you think? And that was it. This was just a small pause after this. It was very, very normal pause. It wasn't long enough. And then you know how your nervousness and your anxiety lead to this very distorted perception of reality, you know. And the more you have this distorted perception of how bad this is, of how much fear you have of it, the more fear you have it and the less likely you are to even start doing it at some point. But once you try it out and you see it's not that bad, your life doesn't depend on it, nobody's life depends on it actually, then you get a higher self-esteem, you are more confident. And I absolutely aced my bachelor speech. I have a perfect note on it, as the only one who has it, and a perfect note also on my project. So I was the only one, the youngest, with a perfect note. And I'm not showing off here. I just want to show you that it actually helps. And even though I didn't really enjoy my time a lot, even though with every next time it was better and better, um, I'm so thankful that I decided to do this, because it wasn't only important for my bachelor speech. I'm using those skills until up until this day. Most of my projects I don't deliver just by sending an email with the images attached. I actually there is a big jump in, let's say, I'm almost ready. In the previous, let's say, state my client saw was, let's say, a clay model defining the viewing angles or something, and then I did everything else. Everything is now textured, populated, the lighting is set up, and everything is great. I don't usually send this over as an email or as an attachment of an email. I actually like to do this live, on a live session, where I share my screen and show the images to the clients, where I also get the chance to present them to the clients. And believe me, this has paid off more than once. And the rhetoric seminar back in 2007 or something definitely helps me with every next presentation that I do, including what I do right now with you today here. So this is why I made my guests review those works, and I actually plan to double down on it even by inviting those of you who feel like it, one by one, this time not as a group, to be my co-reviewers in future shows, without the show being a special episode or something, just like a regular show like today. But you can tune in with me and be my co-reviewer, and we can discuss. Of course, you get the chance to introduce yourself. After that, we will discuss a few works, and by the end of the show, instead of me talking about general stuff like now, we can answer some of the questions that I have for you, or the audience has for you. And this will teach you to be in front of the camera, because once again, here we are in a safe and good environment. Nobody here wants anything bad for you. Nobody wants you to fail. And even if you forget words, even if you forget your sentence or what you wanted to say, it's not a big deal. Nothing important is going to fail because of this. This is not a job interview or something like this, but it can give you the platform to train for those job interviews, or for important talks, or for future presentations and whatnot. So in future, I will make it with a more official post at some point, probably. But in future, I really want to have, from time to time, when you guys want, without any obligations, some of you, one by one, once again, be here with me and be my co-reviewers, my guests, and just learn to do this just to be in front of the camera, to talk to other people, to improvise, and all of this. And I promise you, this is a skill that you cherish for all of your life, even in your own language. It's just important. I mean, the rhetoric seminar I visited was in German, and now I do a show in English. And if I go to this Beam event in September in Berlin, I probably will have to talk in front of people, and the rhetoric seminar is the strong foundation I will be leaning upon, knowing that I'll be able to do it. So that was it for this part. Still talking about the 50th episode of the show. Let me make myself small again. Talking about the 50th episode of the show, even though Anna, Amir, Amit, Danushka, and Kacper did a great job, I actually regret having them do the reviews, because this was a celebrational episode, and it should have been, with 5 people being there, it should have been focused on them rather than on the works, because now many questions were left unanswered. I have many questions for each one of them. The community and the audience, I'm sure, also had questions, and we couldn't go through them. But on the positive side, I think it's a great reason to invite all of them once again in future, right? Let me check the comments before we switch to the next topic. Mariana says, our guru Theo, we all love your altruism and open mind. I'm not altruistic. I get paid for this. But I care for you. I don't think it's altruism. It was just, I didn't have this, and I thought it would be great if at least I can provide it to others. And once again, back then, as I needed help, some people in forums helped me, and they always knew more than me, so I couldn't help them back. So I decided to at least pay it forward. That's it. I'm not an altruist, but thank you. I really appreciate it, Mariana. Ulfat says, I can relate with what you're talking about. Actually, I had the same problem. My face comes very red easily, and now because I work from home as a freelancer, I don't see people, so my social anxiety is worse. My face is also getting red, as you can see, but this gets better with time, believe me. The more I do it, like if you go back to watch the first shows, you'll see me like a tomato back then, and I don't look like this anymore. But even if so what? We've seen red-faced people. Ahmad says, all the best for Beam Teo. Thank you very much. I will probably, it's an event. It is what you talked about in the beginning. It is an event where if I'll be talking about the group. So I won't be an official speaker. I'll be, let's say, on the chaos side, just mentioning the group with a quick presentation. But it will be my first time talking in front of people because similar to Ulfat, I've always preferred solitude and being on my own. And I don't like doing this, but I'll have to. This is good for the group, so I'll have to do it. Mario says, even though you get paid, what you do is beyond that paycheck. I also think so, but it's difficult. It's difficult to differentiate, and to some degree you're paid, but you cannot, if you care for somebody, you cannot just stop caring because your payment limit is reached, right? You just continue caring for them. So you saw, even though I was, moving my office the last weeks, I still tried to be in the group every evening, late in the evening when I went to bed, so that you don't miss me that much. But it was awesome that you guys were there and were like people like Ahmad. Also Sheriff, he's been very active lately, but also Danushka and the others. It was awesome that you were there to help each other. So my missing wasn't that bad. Anyway, Cam says, I really like this kind of trees and tried placing them randomly. Okay, we're talking about Cam's project. Okay, I like your honesty about this. Anyway, okay, so we talked about this, and I think everything is clear so far. So right now the screen shows the before and after of your room, Theo. It's so nice to see it. Oh yeah, let me just go back. Yeah, I like the previous room. It was very personal, but we needed to move in 2021 within 1 month during the pandemic from one city to another, very, very far away. We knew nothing. We had no help. So, on the go, on the fly, I decided that this one will be my studio, and we just ran with it. And now, some years later, we can maybe, when we refunction some rooms, becoming this studio that you see behind me now makes a lot more sense. But, learning by doing. Anyway, great observation, Ahmed. Anyway, let's continue with the second topic, because I just talked about leaving your comfort zone, challenging oneself to advance, and so on. And while this is absolutely true, and I stand behind this, the issue is that while doing that, a lot of artists tend to neglect their health and personal life, which often results in very negative consequences, being losing passion for what you actually initially loved, becoming isolated, like what Ulfat just described, and also getting actual physical and mental health issues. And there was this great article that I shared, which Vasilis shared in the VW Art initially, and then I posted it or forwarded it over to our community about 3D depression, called 3D depression, about exactly this type of problematic and issues. And it seemed to resonate with many, way too many, actually, artists, not only in the VW Art Club, but also in the Chaos Campus community. So I just wanted to remind you to please do your best to avoid this and actually achieve some work-life balance. I never liked this expression, work-life balance. It sounds shitty to me. I don't like it, but it makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. Don't bend under the peer pressure, because you hear the whole time a lot of people, not only from the visualization industry, but from all around the world, telling you how life is about hustle and grind and all of this. Yeah, I agree. You need to work hard. But remember that without your health, you have absolutely nothing. I like to imagine health, screw that, as a column holding a ceiling. Okay, let's be a bit metaphoric here. With time, every time you don't get enough sleep, you don't eat properly, you don't drink enough, you don't get enough exercise or movement, every time you're very stressed and overworked, this column starts getting cracks and starts crumbling. But it still holds the ceiling, right? So you're like, hey, if this happens, it happens to others, but not to me. Until the day the column fails, and with it, the whole ceiling fails. And if you imagine the column was your health and the ceiling was, let's say, your whole existence, the moment these two collapse, you're screwed. And I know people think that this doesn't happen. Like, no, not to me, to anybody else, but not me. Unfortunately, I've seen it with many people around me. For example, a colleague of my wife, he was in his mid-20s. A fit guy, very pleasant and very hardworking. The chefs were absolutely amazed by him and loved him. One day he didn't come to work. The next day he also didn't show up. And at some point they started thinking, did something happen to him? What's wrong? They tried calling, going to his apartment, no answer. At some point, like a week later, his parents called the company and said he cannot get out of bed. I mean, I've seen this dude. He has the muscle to get out of bed. It was not like he was hanging out with the wrong crowd. He was taking drugs or, smoking a joint, playing computer games, reading books. He was just lying in his bed, staring at the ceiling because of the pressure, because of his mental health collapsed. And with this, his whole existence collapsed. So he had to start from the beginning. His advancement in the company, gone. Everything he has reached was kind of gone. And he had to more or less start from the beginning, And he had to re-socialize himself. So remember, when you don't take care of your health and it collapses, you have nothing. You cannot take care of your kids, of your significant other, of yourself, of your business, anything. You're out. So I don't want this to be like apocalyptic or doomsday scenario, but these things happen. And it's up to you to decide. So don't let this get this far. Life's about balance, not about extremes, at least the way I see it. Try to balance your life. Try to have time for the people around you. Try to have social communications. You just heard what Ulfat said. She isolated herself at home, working behind the screen, and now her social anxiety skyrocketed. It's only normal. If you need this to change, you need to go out. If you need your health to be stable so that the column holds the ceiling the longest, you need to move, you need to exercise, you need to go out, to hike, whatever your hobby is. You need to meet people. Don't let this be everything you do. I'm sitting in front of the PC for 15 hours a day. I'm such a machine. Yes, up to a point you can be. Then everything will crumble and you lose everything. And once again, I've seen this happen multiple times with people around me. They were very far and they lost everything. So please take this seriously. If you haven't read this article, please make sure to read it. And please make sure to take care of the people around you, of your social life, of your health, both physical and mental. Usually they are correlated, actually, because this is the foundation you build upon. If this foundation is not there, you cannot build anything. Okay? So it's an important, as Ahmed says, very important topic. Ulfat says, very important point. It is important. It is one of the most important things you have in life. Literally. It's not a point of view here. It is. Without it, you're screwed. This is it. So take care of it, and remember that you are the one making the decisions. Yes, if people say, yeah, they get up at 2 in the morning and then work the whole day, let them do it. You do your thing, which is good for yourself, for the people around you, for your health, because you have a limited amount of it. And sometimes restoring it, if possible at all, takes a very long time. And during that time, you cannot do anything else because you need to really focus only on that. And this is not a good business plan, actually. So enough about this. Once again, I don't want to end the show on a apocalyptic note, but some topics are important, and we're keeping it real in this show, and even unpleasant topics need to be talked about from time to time. I hope this was useful to you. I hope this wasn't actually needed in the first place. I hope you're the one who's actually doing all of those things anyway, and you know it already, and you're not the one I'm talking about, but there certainly are many people like this. And I personally, I cannot explain how much I enjoyed moving my office. Actually, it's not the most pleasant work out there, especially given that I have to, pick up everything and bring it up the stairs. And it was kind of a tedious process. It was slow. For a time, I didn't even have a PC. But this manual labor absolutely recharged my creative batteries when it comes to visualization. Once again, today is the first day that I'm actually working in this studio. And as I said here, I really had passion to sit here and to be here. But before moving the offices, after sitting there for what felt like months or years at the same place every day, I started to lose a bit of the flame that is actually very needed. So do manual labor, do sports, do stuff. Don't sit in front of the PC the whole time. This wouldn't make you a better artist. Think about all the great artists from the past, and think how much of people that loved parties, that loved high life, that loved traveling and whatnot. They didn't sit in a studio and paint. Yes, they had maybe certain phases where they would enclose themselves in their studios and just paint for maybe a week or two without doing anything else. But the rest of the time, they were doing something entirely else. They were involved in politics, in high life, and everything. And you need this as well. This is important for you as an artist and as a human being. So enough of this topic, because we can talk about it forever. I think it's time to wrap up today's session. The best images from the last 2 weeks I will show you just with a post tomorrow. As usual, it was a great pleasure hanging out with you, this time from a new location. I really like it here. I hope you do too. Stay safe, be healthy, and pay attention to your health. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks at a usual place, or the new usual place and time. Until then, don't forget to rock on and keep it real. Goodbye, my friends, and much love. Ciao, ciao.